voices. Okay, choir. And it's really good. So, welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday service this beautiful day in May 21st. We're joining virtually on Zoom. Welcome everyone that's in the Zoom world and watching later on in social media. Glad you're here. I will be your worship assistant, I hope. Today my name is Ray Hatland, and our prayer chaplain is Priscilla Florence. And our musicians are will be the Grateful Voices Choir, joined by, and then Danny Bauer will be singing, leading our group songs. And Reverend Kurt Condra will be our message person today. Let's take a breath. And let's bow our heads in prayer. Holy Presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, from the infinite intelligence, and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and the one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that this purpose is now being fulfilled. For we know we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. Now, I would like to invite the Grateful Voices Choir to come up and sing I Dreamed of Rain.
Yeah, it's gonna sing
teachings of Jesus and the grace of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition. We honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. Our purpose at Unity on the North Shore is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday, we extend a loving welcome. Many of us were quite surprised to learn that there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things we did. It felt like coming home. We hope your experience this morning is powerful and that you'll return. We would like to invite everyone to our Mediterranean lunch. You don't have to go to the Mediterranean. Following the service today, it may be outside, or maybe it seems pretty nice. So I think it's going to be outside. All are invited to join us. Weather permitting, we'll be outside on the patio. I invite now everyone to stand and join us in singing our group song, which should be up on the screen, Connected to God, and led by Danny Bauer, our pianist.
Connected to God, connected to God, I have all I need. Connected to God, connected to God, connected to God, trusting seriously, follow the light, shining so bright, in the dark night, beautiful sight. Connected to God, I'm connected to God. Connected to God, connected to God, connected to God, you have all I need. Connected to God, connected to God, connected to God, trusting seriously, follow the shining so bright in the dark night, beautiful sight. Connected to God, connected to God, you're connected to God. You're connected. Connected to God, connected to God, connected to God. We have all we need. Connected to God, connected to God, connected to God, trusting seriously, follow the light, shining so bright, in the dark night, beautiful sight. Connected to God, connected to God, we're connected to God. Beautiful, everyone.
Yay. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, choir. I feel like we've been at church. Oh, boy, has it been delightful. Thank you. Our daily word today is protection. Oh, gosh, I need my glasses. Anybody got glasses? Oh, boy, thank you, reading, thank you. Usually these are in bigger words. Oh, thank you, this is better. As I practice the presence of God, I feel secure. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life. God, omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence is not only all around me, God is within me. As I take this truth into my heart, I feel calm and secure. The circumstances of the world have no lasting power over me. God is greater and more enduring than anything I may be called to face. I have within me the power to feel God's protecting presence at any time. As I pray, I affirm the strength and power of God, our mind to call upon. I can use these divine powers to move beyond that which may scare or intimidate me. In renewed faith and deep security, I move bravely forward. Nothing can stop us. And our verse comes from John 4, verse 4. The one who is you is greater than the one who is in the world. Beautiful. Now, I'd like to take a moment to tell you that I am your chaplain today, and I will be at the candle in the back to pray with you after the service. And those of you who are online can leave your prayers in the chat, and someone will respond. Let us take a moment just for a brief meditation. And remember, the song says, I am peace, I pray for peace. What we need is peace, both within and without. I am not telling you how to pray, but if you don't know, that's one big thing we can pray for right now. So let's take a moment and close your eyes if you wish, and go into a brief meditation. And if you haven't done so already, pray for the world, for that beyond our earth, for the universe. Thank you.
Well, the Grateful Voices choir comes forward. I want to invite the rest of you into a kind of experiment this morning. Because I know how we are, and I know how great they are. And I know that your natural response is going to be to stand up and cheer and clap. And what I'm going to ask today is that we hold that space. Just let the last sort of chords that they sing resonate in the room. And I'd like you to hold that space silently and just be really aware what's happening within you in that sort of sacred moment. Yeah? What do you say? Yeah. You'll remember to do it, right?
First, I wanted to thank North Shore Unity for opening up your church for us to rehearse in and giving us a chance to perform here. This is our inaugural performance. Yeah. We were homeless and we found our home. And and this is our first performance as Grateful Voices. We would like to dedicate our performance to the memory of two of our choir members, Frank Bonella and Jonathan Reed. Frank made his transition in December. Frank was a soft-spoken man who graced our choir with strong, warm bass voice. Jonathan transitioned in March. When he sang in the choir, his enthusiasm and joy was reflected in his bass voice. Jonathan, Frank, these songs are for you. And I also want to mention that our binder covers were designed by Jonathan. The beautiful sunflowers. And now we're going to sing May I Be Still.
May I be still and feel the calm inside me.
May I be still and let the Spirit guide me.
May I be still and hear the voice of love descending from above and filling me until I am still. May I be silent and hear the world around me.
May I be silent and let the light surround me.
May I be silent and listen to my heart, especially the part that speaks of peace to me. Silently. Make me an instrument of my peace. Bless me that I am blessed release. May I be clear and see the truth inside me. May I be clear and let compassion guide me. May I be clear from spirit and dispel the darkness where I dwell, with no more doubt or fear. I am clear, may I be clear. I am still, may I be still. I am silent, may I be silent. I am clear, may I be clear. I am still, may I be still. I am silent, may I be silent. I am still, I am still.
So, in our little experiment, what was your experience? That wasn't rhetorical. I wanted some feedback.
I'll give feedback.
Great.
As a visitor, when you first said that, I'm going to be honest with you, Reverend Hurd, my first reaction was, no applause, and no standing ovation. But no, it worked for me. I took it into our own songs, like it gave us a moment to actually remember students. Yes.
Anyone else? Kurt,
Do you want to join the choir?
am I turning it up in the wrong place? I'm sorry.
No, it's not on.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, so we heard at first some reluctance or resistance because that's our tendency. That's the way that we normally would show our appreciation, to stand up and cheer. And yet, by sort of pushing through that and being more present, that there was a moment there that was really special. Yeah. Uh huh. Fit very, yeah, it was almost instructing us to, right? Be still, be still. In the back.
Okay, so I haven't been in church for a while, and I'm a clapper. And I
Well, thank you for confessing.
because I love the people in the choir, and I love unity, and I kind of blew it.
Yep, so that just exuberance poured out, yeah. Yeah, one more.
I love quiet after music because it lets the harmonics resonate, and the clapping, that kind of stops it. So I really love quiet after music.
I was curious. I find it to be the same experience, like especially not so much in this room, but when we're upstairs, man, oh, those sounds just, if you're in a big, beautiful space, the resonance that happens in sort of the end of a chord, there's as much, I think, beauty sometimes in the pauses and the rests that we experience in music as there is in the actual chords that we hear. The reason I wanted to do that, though, is because I think it demonstrates really how countercultural it is to make space, to create pauses in the day-to-day busyness of what we're experiencing, what we're moving through. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about Sabbath. This morning, I want us to really kind of explore that there is a rhythm to rest, and that if we can maybe find some comfort for that. And then in those places when maybe we're sort of mindlessly pouring through, and I'm not saying, I'm really grateful that you were, I knew somebody was going to not be able to hold it in, so thank you for being that person. And that was total out of exuberance, right? That kind of joyfulness in some ways can also be a form of Sabbath. What I'm wanting us to practice, though, is how do we create those pauses when it's not a sort of mindful response to something, when it's just sort of a gut pattern thing that we do moving through life, because it's completely countercultural to everything, especially in our sort of Western, late capitalist, progressive, we want to see the economy growing, everything needs to be happening at a faster and faster pace. It's completely antithetical for us to make space to really experience those kind of deeper, more subtle energies that I think lie really at the heart of our spiritual connection, really lie at the heart of our being able to live out of the divinity that unity teaches all of us come to express and to know. So I want to share with you a quote. This is a Thomas Merton quote, who is an amazing theologian, but he speaks to this sort of this notion in a way that I think is going to give us context later on, because I think it's bigger than just our own personal connection to spirit, our own ability to kind of experience that. It's a dynamic that actually shapes the world and global affairs, and unless we're able to kind of find a context for that in ourselves, we're not going to be able to have an impact that's greater in a world that so desperately needs to find a space to pause and to know the sacred. So this is Thomas Merton speaking on it. He says, there is a perverse form of contemporary violence, and that is activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our own work because it kills the root of our inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. Wow. Like, you do think of it as violence, that busyness, the to-do list that we have. That every day I've got to get through this task of stuff before I can maybe take a moment to rest or have a glass of wine with my loved one or whatever it is that we decompress with. Like, there is so much inertia for us to fill every moment with productive time. I've got to make sure that I'm doing something that is generative, or I don't know, I feel guilty or ashamed, or somehow I haven't earned that yet. It's just a dynamic that is so prevalent in us that if we can begin to explore ways of being more present to that inertia, that sort of dragging us through, so that we can put a pause in it, I think we can begin to have a greater appreciation for kind of the spiritual dimension of our lives. Wayne Muller, who wrote the book Sabbath that I'm speaking from these next 2 weeks, He suggests that this is the same violence that actually is sort of at the heart of our forgetting our own connection to sort of the greater universe, the greater globe. I'm standing in front of mics that are squeaking on me. So that we have, there's a natural rhythm to all of life. Everything that's alive has a natural rhythm. Where there's an inhale, there has to be an exhale to make room for the next inhale. Where there is a sunset, there is a sunrise. The globe turns, the seasons change. There is growth and there is dormancy. In everything, there is sort of this cycle and this flow that unless we're able to sort of let go of the doing and the inhaling to the point that we forgot to exhale, then we're choking ourselves off from the very life force that gives us the capacity to be a presence for spirit and for love. And Merton suggests that it's that sort of violent attitude in the context Muller suggests in the context of the violent attitude that Merton just described, is that that's at the heart of us forgetting that we are deeply connected to the planet, right? That there is no way that we can be separate from the devastation that's happening to rainforests without recognizing that, okay, we are participating in that at some level. Our drive to be a part of a progressive force, to make sure that economies are functioning well, the choices that we make in our purchases are part of that violence. It's the same for as we sort of move toward what we witness in terms of like rivers and oceans being polluted and filled with, like that's all a part of the violence because we are disconnected from how intimately we are associated, are a part of the greater sort of cosmic forces. And once we're able to sort of reconnect with that, I think we can begin to make a more, at least in terms of a level of consciousness, to have a greater awareness for what our actions, our words, our thoughts, the effects that those are having, and we begin to make some changes around that. The interesting piece is that the idea of Sabbath, of creating a space to know the sacred, of pausing in the busyness of it's endemic. Endemic is the wrong word. It's prevalent in every spiritual tradition, from Hindus to Buddhists to Islam to Christian and perhaps Jewish maybe is where we can look for the greatest inspiration because those traditions are so rich and so deep and have been going on for so long. Many of you live in the area, right? On Saturdays, the Sabbath for the Jewish temples in the area, you'll see Jewish people on their way to church walking, right? They're not in their cars. And there's a little thing that goes off in my head that says, I have to remind myself, it's a little weird. Like, why don't they just drive? There's still this thing in my head that wants them to be like me, I'm from a very small rural area in Michigan, and whenever I go home, there are Amish folks and their carriages and horse and buggy out, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like that's the fringe, and yet I think in some ways they have a far better connection to sort of the planetary forces and even the cycles of night and day than we do with our artificial lights and all the ways in which we've got the conveniences. Muller tells a beautiful story about I don't know the slang. Goy is like a non-Jewish person. Is that true, Goy? So a Goy was marrying a Jewish woman, and the gift from the grandparents was a washer and dryer. And the grandfather explained that it was a Jewish washer and dryer, and the husband was like, what? He says it doesn't work on the Sabbath. We can put those same kind of practices in place for ourselves, right? There are subtle reminders we can have to make space, to recognize that there's a deeper truth and a deeper dimension to our life experiences with very simple habits. We don't have to take a whole day or a whole week, it can be just in the mindfulness of reaching for a door handle, to recognize that this is the threshold of something new in my experience today. And just, there are small stuff that you can set timers on your phones. I mean, a lot of this is stuff that I'm sure you've heard before, and yet I'm encouraging us now to be very deliberate about making sure that what we're making space for is a recognition of our connection to that deeper wisdom that lies within, that really is only accessible as we make space in our feeling and thinking and believing for it to kind of emerge, yeah? In 2017, I took my first sabbatical as a minister, and I was gifted with a stay in a cottage up on Washington Island. It was really beautiful. There was a congregants here, and I had this idea about what that sabbatical needed to look like, and it was basically going to be a silent retreat. And I was not going to use any electricity, at least after night. I was going to cook and stuff, but no lights. I was going to try and get my circadian rhythms to match with the sunrise and sunset and sunrise, right? That was my plan. Well, I was able to stick with that for about a day and a half and just went nuts. But for the rest of the time that I was there, I mostly felt like I was cheating. Like, oh, you aren't really taking rest or sabbatical. Even though I was out like gardening and had my hands in the dirt, which is a practice my grandmother instilled in me early on. And it felt the biggest cheat I did was I went out to dinner for a really nice, there's only one nice restaurant in the rest of the island that was open at the time. And so I was saving that for the end. And I went out to dinner and it was lovely, but at the same time, there was something in me that felt like, oh, you're cheating on this whole sacredness thing. So part of what I want you to hear is that we get to decide how we create Sabbath in our experiences. And I think that deciding has to come from like what our response is as we move into those experiences. It takes some experimenting, right? To really recognize that, okay, is this something I'm doing out of a busyness of mind, somebody told me this is what I should be doing? Or can I be present to the pause between a beautiful piece of music and see how that's affecting me? Maybe it's struck something emotionally. Maybe there's like a physiological release or a letting go. But can I be present to how this sacred moment, this Sabbath moment that I'm creating for myself is having an impact? And if it's serving you well, if it's moving you into a place of deeper peace or deeper receptivity or deeper joyfulness, then absolutely claim that as your Sabbath and try and instill it as a deeper part of your own personal practice. Yeah? The best example I have, so I've had a froggy throat for the last couple of days. That's the other thing that happens, like when we're not paying attention and we've got that drive to keep doing and fixing and progressing. It's not until we get ill that we'll actually take time to give ourselves rest. And then that's healing, which is certainly sacred, but it's not the same as this sacred kind of rest that I'm talking about. So anyway, I was, in my little healing moment, I was watching Ted Lasso, which I absolutely love. I've been saving the third season, and I'm about halfway through it now. And there's one point, if you don't know Ted Lasso, he's a soccer coach who was hired from the U.S. That's a long story, but he knows nothing about soccer. He's a football coach from a small town in the U.S., and he's hired to lead a Premier League soccer club in England. And now on this third season, he's kind of getting his grounding, his feet. But the reason you love him and the team is because they're always underdogs. They're always sort of coming from behind, and yet there is always this beautiful sort of positive, intentional, very highly integrous way that they're sort of moving through the experience of it. Well, so they're at another one of the low points where they've been invited to attend a match in Amsterdam. And it's a miserable failure. They lose tremendously badly, and they're getting back on the bus to go back to the hotels and stuff, and all the players are dejected, and the coaches are feeling, and Ted just gets up and says, you know what? No curfew tonight. No curfew. I hear Sabbath. That's a form of Sabbath. They're taking a rest from the concerns that they're having. And over the course, it's wonderful to sort of watch how they navigate their different Sabbaths and how they try to decide what they're going to do. But the one that I found most meaningful is Ted himself ends up at a really cheesy, this is Amsterdam, remember, a really cheesy American-style French fries and onion rings and hamburger kind of sports bar. And he has this kind of epiphany in the midst of being there that completely changes how the team is going to strategize for moving forward, right? So that's another thing that tends to happen when we're able to sort of create that space in Sabbath. Like there's a whole level of creativity that is never going to occur to us, ideas that will never come to us as long as we're driving down that same path that's just checking off check marks. So another value out of sort of making space is that it opens up that deeper wisdom for creativity to happen. And if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, I highly recommend it. Someday I'll do a whole series on it. Let's see. The other element that I want to mention about sabbatical is sometimes it feels like, we got to earn it. We got to earn this time to rest. Like I can't take off until, my to-do list or my task list is done, or I've seen every patient, or it's in the waiting room, or and I don't know, I'm like looking at doctors now and thinking probably that one isn't a good example because there's a certain amount of accountability, I guess, so that you would need to honor. But for many of us, there's often this feeling that we haven't really earned this opportunity to rest. In which case, I would like to share with you some examples out of Jesus' experience, because I think he's the most beautiful model for us to recognize that Sabbath doesn't have to be earned, that it's a part of that natural flow of in and out, of exhale and inhale, that beautiful flow that just helps keep us in that space of living from our highest good. This is from Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 23. And this is after he had dismissed the crowds, this being Jesus. After he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. After he had dismissed the crowd. So the crowds were still hanging out. They were still, they were still wanting some more attention from him, I'm sure. They were still hoping that they would get a private audience with him or whatever, but he departs. Then again in Luke chapter 5, verses 15 and 16. But so much the more the report went abroad concerning him, and great multitudes gathered to hear and be healed of their infirmities. But he withdrew into the wilderness and prayed. Crowds of people coming to Jesus to be healed, and yet he knew for him it was time to rest. He didn't get permission. He didn't tell anybody where he's going. He just kind of disappeared. There is within each of us that same wisdom and knowing about when it's our time to rest. And to continue to push through and pound through actually subverts our capacity to be effective and productive and coming from our highest and divine self. I think Jesus modeled that beautifully. And the last one, this is from Mark chapter 1, verses 32 and 33. That evening at sundown, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons, and the whole city was gathered together about the door. And in the morning, a great while before the day, he rose and went out to a lonely place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him pursued him. Right? Again, Jesus didn't tell him what he was up to. He recognized that he needed this time apart to pray, and he took it. He took what he needed in order for him to be able to live out of the fullness of his Christ self, his Christ divinity. Which brings me to my next point. I hope most of you are aware, because we announced it at the annual meeting and stuff, but the board has granted me a sabbatical. I'm about 2 years overdue, what was contractually kind of allowed. So I'll be away for June, July, and August, 3 months in August. And I have to remember not to get in front of that microphone, huh? So I'll be away, and this time around, I don't have any great expectations about what my sabbatical must look like. Mostly, it's going to be a time to rest. I think the first few days, I'll just sleep a whole bunch. But I don't have any big travel plans for June and July. I'm intending to spend some time with family and friends and maybe deepen some relationships that I haven't had capacity to do with. I want to go. Having lived here now for 13 years, I've only been to 3 of Chicago's great museums. So I'm thinking every week I'll try a different museum and just hang out and be immersed in that wisdom and that art and that beauty, and just allow it to nurture my soul. And then in August, it's going to be really busy. I plan to go to a retreat center, actually a monastery in Kentucky, Gethsemane. Some of you I know have been there. And that will be a silent retreat. It's a self-guided thing, beautiful hiking trails. So I'm looking forward to that. And then my mother, on her bucket list, she has always wanted to see Mount Rushmore. So we're doing a family trip to Rapid City, South Dakota for a week or so at the end. And then in between there, I'll be attending the Parliament of World Religions. So my August is kind of packed up with activity, but the rest of it, I'm wanting to leave very open. And part of the reason is I don't want that to be a surprise when you're watching or looking in and we're like, where's Reverend Kurt? He's on sabbatical. We knew this was coming. We have scheduled an amazing lineup of speakers throughout the summer that are going to bless you amazingly. This will be a beautiful place for you to come and renew your souls. I hope you'll consider Sunday mornings your sabbatical with Unity on the North Shore. What else do I want to say about that? Other than you have an amazingly dedicated and high-functioning and high-level consciousness board, along with our executive director that has got this. I know there are some big questions that are coming up over the summer, but they are well equipped to serve you well. And I would ask that you also support them through this time of really, I think in some ways it'll also be an opportunity for us as a community to deepen our connections and understanding in the ways in which we minister to one another. So just know that that's coming. Now you know the ulterior motive behind having a 2-week series on sabbaticals. Let's see, I've reassured you that it's going to be great. All right, so I think what I'd like to do now is move us into a time of meditation. And what I would like you to do is open your mind and heart. One of the beautiful traditions that I think transcends even Jewish culture is that at the lighting of a candle, right, that marks the moment, the beginning of Shabbat in Jewish traditions. It can mark the beginning of a beautiful romantic dinner with a loved one. Sensuality is also another beautiful way to experience Sabbath. So as I light this candle, what I would like you to hold in a mind and heart is that it's the beginning of our time to really reflect and allow Spirit to reveal within you what might be a beautiful spiritual practice that you would like to bring into your life as you move through perhaps this week, but maybe even beyond. Think about what brings you joy, what brings you peace, what makes you want to celebrate, what makes you feel inspired, and see if you can identify a particular practice that you can bring into your experience this week as I light our Shabbat candle.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my soul go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray.
And now as we pause in a time to reflect, I invite you to just scan your physical body and relax as deeply as you possibly can, just into this moment. If there are any areas of tension, direct your breath to those spots. Become present. Become open. Become receptive. And as Danny continues to play quietly in the background, I'm going to invite you to consider, to ask Spirit, ask that Christ presence within you, ask the wisdom that arises from within. What is it that would most nurture my soul as I move through this week? What experience of Sabbath, of quiet, of rest would bring the greatest renewal to my spirit? Might be something that results in a feeling of joy, a feeling of lightness, or it might be something that moves you into a place of even deeper quiet and peace. But as Danny plays, in these quiet moments, simply allow that deep wisdom within to reveal to you how you might know the truth of your being more fully in a Sabbath practice. And so now, as we prepare to bring this time of reflection to a close, I invite you to just maybe key in on the feeling that gets evoked as you think about this Sabbath experience. And we give thanks for this wonderful opportunity to know the divine within us, to experience it and feel it and share it among us, and to bring it forth through and as us. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Alleluia, 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 alleluia,
All right, breathe in, breathe out. And now comes the participatory part of the service. If you have identified a practice, or if there's one that you know that you would resonate with, I'd like you to just speak to a person beside you. Just speak that out loud. Sometimes by making it vocal, setting that vocal intention, it actually helps us to be more accountable for actually following through on it. So take just 2 minutes and share what came to you. Oh, cool. Thank you so much. I didn't say it ahead of time, but for those of you online, I hope you maybe took the initiative to maybe type in what you're committed to in terms of a spiritual practice. I'd love to be able to see those. So let's go ahead and bring our focus back. I love this buzz. This is great. We get your eyes connecting and you just keep on going. So to bring it to a close, I would love to, Danny came up and shared what his one of his spiritual practices, and I thought it was so cool. And he is so great. It involves his Facebook page. So I figure it's a way to get y'all familiar with him, and go like him on Facebook so you can experience the project that he has.
Hello. Well, I just told Kurt that I think a good practice for me to get more into is to list the things I'm grateful for when I journal in the morning. And then he said, you already have a great practice on your Facebook Live, so you should tell them about that. So I go live on Facebook and YouTube every day. Today will be day 74, and I'm committed to doing that for a year. And the point of my lives is to authentically and vulnerably share my feelings wherever I'm at for that day. And a lot of people tell me they're very helpful to see me talk about my emotions. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, but I share wherever I'm at to show people that it's okay to feel your feelings. So if you're curious to tune into that, my name's Danny Bauer. You can add me on Facebook, and I also put them on my YouTube channel, which is kind of hard to find because it's small, but that channel is called Safety Squad.
Safety Squad, yeah. Dan, he's great, isn't he? Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you, bless you. What's up next? I think it's you, Ray.
Because those were great words of wisdom that was being shared today by Kurt. And I know it's something that I've practiced, I've learned to practice. And it comes after a while very natural and needed, because we can go off too much in one direction. And we need to kind of take a breath. Okay, so now is a time in our service that we share our love offerings. We offer 3 simple ways. There's one. We used a donate button on our website, or send checks through the mail, and the details are all 3 are on the screen. For those of you here in the room, please place cash or checks in the bowl near the doors as you leave. And we now have an easy way for you to give that costs you nothing. Whenever you shop through Amazon, we ask that you use the access to the, we'll get there, change that, access Amazon site through the link on our website. Just click the link on our homepage and complete your transactions as usual. Amazon will give a percentage of your purchases to UNS. No cost to you at all. No matter how you give, what's most important is why you give. So here are 3 reasons why giving is important for your spiritual growth and well-being. 1, it can open up new channels of supply. If you don't have a really heavy river coming in, you got to get a lot of little channels going. Okay. It reminds us that God is the source of all good. So when we give from the heart, it raises consciousness as nothing else does. Now, each one of those 3 ways are deserving of a sermon, Kurt. Just a suggestion. It's lucky you're going on sabbatical right now, sir. So now, let's bless our giving and receiving. And if you are not actually giving or shopping on Amazon, this exact moment, I invite you to set your intention to do so and speak aloud our offertory blessing with joy and gratitude as we affirm together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. I'd like to welcome our board treasurer, Kathy Mathis, who will now share our money moment. Okay? And we'll be followed by the graceful singers. And what's the name of the leader?
Scotty Zacher.
Scotty Soccer.
Got it?
Scotty.
Okay. I want to see it spelled. Okay. Thank you.
Wow, good morning. I am Kathy Mathis. I am the treasurer here at Unity North Shore. And my goodness, I stand before you this morning sort of awash in an embarrassment of riches, I feel like this morning. It's so wonderful to have everyone here with us. I feel so proud that we're able to allow Kurt his sabbatical. We had a wonderful party last night that was part of our gala. We've got Danny, we've got a beautiful day in our Sanctuary Sunday where we can share lunch. My goodness, thank you all for being part of it. And as we know in Unity, we get our good from many different sources, and as we give, so we receive. And so one of the things that we do want to draw attention to also is our money moment and our money flow. As you can see, if you look at the top line, the good news is, in April, we did make progress. We were behind a little more, but we were over our budget by $2,700 in April. But if you look at the end there versus budget, we're still behind budget, and versus last year's giving, actually, about $8,600. So as we are awash in all the good, I invite you to continue that and help us grow all that good by giving generously financially as well. So, like I said, thank you for being part of this. If anyone has any questions, I'm here, happy to answer anything. So, next, on to the choir. Thank you.
My name is Scotty Zacher. I'm the director of Higher Ground. For our final, I'm sorry. Grateful Voices. It was bound to happen once. I wanted to first again thank you for letting us rehearse here. We are always looking for new members. We take our summers off, but we start again in September. We'll be singing here. We'll be singing at Oak Park Unity. I'm very good at, you need to be able to carry a tune. If you can carry a tune, I can work with you. And I can say I have a bias towards it, but I don't think there's a bigger sense of community than being in a choir and working on our music together and becoming a community together singing that song. So I encourage, I'm very thankful to have Carl and Tam from your congregation. We also have Kucha. We also have Kucha from Oak Park. So again, in September we'll be starting again, and we'd love to have you join our Monday rehearsals. We have all the music online, so you can practice away from rehearsal. And I would love to have you. For our final song, we are singing River Song.
After listening to the singing, I almost forgot that I had to give some announcements. Thank you, choir, Danny, and everyone that's contributed to the service. And, and Kurt. Everybody's your presence has blessed us. So now for the announcements. First, we want to let you know that we have Words of Wisdom books for sale in the back of the garden room. These books tell the story of our UNS elders, written in their own words. The first printing sold out immediately. So buy your book today before this printing runs off. Books are $25. So that'll be upstairs in the...
Just right at the back of here.
Right in the back, down here. Okay, great. Let's kick off the summer together with a big group party on Friday, June 2nd. Heaven Meets Earth in the Evanston Yoga Studio will lead a yoga class for us at 5 p.m. This is on a Friday, followed by a potluck dinner at 6 p.m. and then a night of live music from Sean Johnson and the Lotus Band. We'll have beer, wine, and sparkling water available. I've been into yoga for many years. We never had beer. However, this is unity, okay? Everyone is asked to bring a dish to share if you're able. You can buy tickets for the event and sign up to volunteer at our website, www.unityns.org. Bring your friends. This is our big social gathering for the summer. Speaking of summer, now we'll go a little bit more. Reverend Kurt will be on a well-deserved sabbatical this summer. While he's away, we have a special speaker series featuring our favorites, including Bobby Wilson, Megan Madonna, Jeff Berry, right over here, along with some new voices like Summer Osborne and Edwina Cowell. Our new executive director, Jasmine Sazak, will be taking care of much of the behind-the-scenes work in Reverend Kirk's absence, and she will return when he returns to us this fall, rested and restored, ready to move UNS into the next building. So that's all there are. So I'm going to invite Jasmine to come on up and make the announcement about our right and perfect home search. Jasmine? She's a very talented gal. Okay, so.
Hello, welcome. Okay, so we are in the process of selling our building so we can relocate somewhere else in Evanston. We're not closing, we're just moving. So just a little update on that process. The buyer for our property is a preschool. They presented their plan to Evanston's Land Use Committee a couple of weeks ago, and that committee put it forward to City Council. They did not give it a recommending vote, so it was 4-3 against the site plan based mostly on concerns of traffic at the intersection and what extra traffic would do at an already kind of busy, chaotic intersection. So it is going to be going forward to City Council, hopefully sometime in June, and the owner of that daycare center preschool is working on figuring out what they can do to help with traffic flow, to help alleviate any congestion that might arise at that intersection. So that's kind of our update right now, and then hopefully after that city council vote, we'll have a better idea of what next steps will be. Feel free to seek me out after service if you have additional questions. Thanks, everybody. I think, do you want me to take it from here? What are we doing next? Thank you. Prayer for protection and peace song. So do we do peace song first, I believe, right? Okay, so if everybody would stand and join us for our peace song and prayer for protection. Thank you.
Peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous ground. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
And now while we're standing, let us say together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God holds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all things divine. So enjoy your Sabbath.
Hello, everyone. Hey. I'm just waiting for the music to die down a little bit. For them to block it. Mr.